what came to be written? That
Well, it was just these. My father was amongst them. It's a good many years ago, and this Gorman. They were all sitting there, and this little John Anderson. He came down and was telling them how, how they used to do and how he'd do it if he was doing it, and he always found.
what was this? Piling the
The two before Joyce, and this here piece of 2x4 was leaning up into this stairway kind of a thing that they went up to on top of the pile.
Oh, they built the 2x4s back into a stairway?
They
Was
backed
that it?
them up, and so you could walk up, and then they piled them all out and made a big flat top on it, see? And this piece was left, I suppose, when the whistle blew, somebody was halfway up with the piece and just left it there.
Yeah.
And this old John got halfway up there, and there was somebody went to push a truck out of the way, one of them two-wheel trucks, and it struck the lower end of the thing, and the end struck one side of something, and the other end pried and jammed his head against the side of the pile. And he let out the awfulest yells, and my father, he happened to be handy, and he reached out his foot and he gave this a kick, and he kicked it away from the wheel so it let him loose, and down he fell. And he started to rip and swear and take on, and scratched his ear pretty bad, so he struck home, and all this time, this old Larry was sitting there, and he'd picked up a piece of plain board and a piece of paper, and he was scribbling away, and when he finished it up, he had this piece, and he said, when old John was hollering, he said he just sounded like a banked beaver the way he hollers.
Bagged beaver?
A banked beaver, they used to tell about years ago, if a beaver dam, if they got too many beavers, they'd drive some of them out, and they'd sit on the bank and holler like the dickens. And yeah, and old Larry said he sounded just like one of them beavers. And so after a while he finished this piece, and that's what it was. He just, while they were sitting there, he'd made up the most of it and wrote it down, and that's the way he had it. John Anderson went prowling round giving orders, we might say, but chance got caught within a trap and couldn't get away. He called for help. Oh Lord, such cries we thought he'd break his voice, until to his assistance came some men from piling Joyce. With exertion great they unsealed his fate and freed the prisoner's head. When on the ground his senses got, then this was what he said. You gosh darn fools, burst from his lips as soon as he could see. George Robinson, you cussed fool, you tried to finish me. You spread your bait and sprang your trap, caught what you called a beaver. But thanks to Bell and Angus as well, for they were my reliever. So now I'll tell to all you men, I'll give no more directions to men who can, for I know they will pile lumber to perfection. And now, my boys, I'll tell no lies. I'm thankful for my life. But there's one thing I greatly dread, that is to meet my wife. Then home he went for liniment to bathe the parts affected, and if I got the story straight, he got full well corrected. Now, Beaver Jack, I see you're back. I see you've lost your no. Now, Beaver Jack, what brought you back? You almost lost your ear, but Jack applied his liniment and did not seem to hear. Now, Sophie, pet, you mustn't fret nor get in too hot water, for at that mill they're traps they've set for beaver, bear, and otter. And that's all. There's another verse, but I don't know.
But that, he'd come around and told him that they were piling the joists up wrong?
Oh, yes, he was always finding fault and running around. He worked there, He was a little Swede fella, and everything that it was never done just like it should be done. Always finding fault. And so Larry, he got a little kick out of that, and he made up this little piece about it. But the last verse, I don't know.
Well, that's pretty good, even so, I'd say that. Well, he'd...